Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good evening.
Hi. Look at those handsome men out there. We're excited to hear what these men have to say, these quality men. I love the fact that you're diverse in age, race, um, education, profession, and we have a lot to hear from you. Oftentimes we find there's a lot of shows about women and what they have to say about relationships, about men. But today, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say because we all have a lot to bring to the table and to become one and to edify one another. This show is to not bash women or men. We're here to edify. So let's go around the room. Let's meet you guys.
Who's up first?
You said it first, so you're up first.
So my name is Kevin Stormer. I'm currently in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I am a graduate of East Carolina University. Also had the opportunity to spend some time at North Carolina A&T, so I shared both experiences of an HBCU and a PWI. I am currently in law enforcement as my full-time position, but I've always been an entrepreneur in the, banking and financial industry, so I dabble in real estate, mortgages, and a little bit of investing.
All right. Excited to have you on the show today, Kevin. Pass that virtual mic.
Glad to be here.
Who's picking it up?
Well, my name is Gregory Griffith, by the way of Tampa, Florida, with the School of Fayetteville State University. My career is all over the place, if you will. Well, I have a nonprofit. I feed the locals here in Hillsborough County, not the homeless, but those that need food. Been doing that for 12 years. Also, I have a claims background. I also still do cut hair, so I still run that business as well. So I'm a jack of all trades, if you will.
Welcome, Gregory.
Yeah, huh?
Look, Gregory. I was putting Gregory and Griffiths all together.
Well, I'll go next. So, name is Sean Chapman. Live in the great state of Texas, United States and Texas. So I've been blessed solely. My background is in technical writing. That's where I met the wonderful Miss Melanie Parker. We were on a project together. Right now, I am an entrepreneur. I'm a real estate investor. My older brother builds homes. I'm now the brains behind that process. I obtain the funding, the contracts, and things of that nature. So what we're doing right now, we're actually wanting to build communities, not just communities to obtain a financial wherewithal, but communities for my people, brown colored people, to keep us safe, really nice areas so that we can be proud of. And our dream within the next 3 to 5 years is to have a little bit over 10 properties with 30 plus doors that we can call our own, so we can start building up our own communities.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, I guess I'm the only one left. Hi, Ian Winston, currently in Arlington, Virginia. Background is I went to SMU in Dallas. Actually, I'm also originally from Texas, so, fellow Texans. I work with the wonderful Miss Melanie, and we work together at SiriusXM, or for a contractor who works for SiriusXM, doing technical writing. And I think a big, since Melanie mentioned the last person that's talked about a secret scent that's very important to them in a relationship. I think a big thing in my relationship with my girlfriend is definitely compassion and communication. You can't have one without the other, otherwise the whole thing just falls apart. So I think it's a big step forward in a relationship when you can start putting yourself in the other person's shoes, even when you're mad at them. And that, I think, especially with quarantine times and the fact that there's not a lot of, storming off that people can do. It's a big development to suddenly find yourself forced into that position of empathy very quickly. But it's been a real lifesaver for us.
Very good, very good. So being able to empathize and walk in someone else's shoes, how did you get to that point, Ann? Because that was a process, but especially when you met your girlfriend, became an item, forming that connection. How did you get to that point? What are steps or techniques that you use?
Not easily, I will say. So when we met, it was funny. So she was under strict orders from someone else to stop me from flirting with the person who introduced her to our group. So she was very, I would say, aggressive and very confrontational, even though we just met. But she was giving me no end of the business. Not sure how blue your podcast is allowed to be, but yeah, she was no end of trouble that night. Real spitfire. So because that had gone so poorly, that whole group of friends decided it would be hilarious if the next time we were all out together that they just iced both of us so that all we had to do was talk to each other, which ended up with me asking her out, and then here we are. But that was 8 years ago. And we very early on had to start dealing with the long distance aspect to our relationship because I had moved to Chicago. And that was within about 5 months of us starting dating, and that was a huge risk. So communication, normally, if something goes wrong, you can sort of knock on the door, come to that person. You can have a moment of sharing food or some physical affection or just something to help you heal. And we didn't have that. So we had to get really good at openly communicating with one another. So that's been a lifeline of ours since very early on.
Great tips on that. Definitely getting to that point. Now, when you have those moments where you both might want to push that button because you're kind of in a funk, so do you remind each other? You're like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that happened recently, actually. That was definitely a moment where I think there is that tea kettle moment where you're just boiling over and you're just so angry that you want to push that button out of either vengeance or just anger or just getting that little bit of satisfaction, because there is that little bit of satisfaction. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't exist.
Right.
So yeah, the hard part is saying no to that in the moment, and then I think the easy part is to just let it set for an hour or so. And then come back around and say, like, time out. Before we get into everything, is everything okay? Because it's usually not the thing that you were talking about. It's usually all kinds of other stress that comes out
so true.
In that way.
I like the fact that you guys are all well-rounded and also in your thinking, and you're not surface thinkers. So by you're saying you're unfolding, even in the midst of anger, because we all have that, we can step into that survival mode because of we're in the flesh, and we're three-dimensional, mind, body, and spirit. However, we can step into that survival mode when we're hungry, angry, or, like you said, you just want to get that satisfaction. But that is a maturity when you can say, okay, there's something else going on here. Let's step back. Let me step away before we get to that point. And that is practice and maturity. Anybody else have anything to say about that?
It is maturity, but you also have to think about putting yourself in another person's shoes. Like, one of the biggest struggles that I have as a husband with my wife is I always expect her to always make the right decisions because I'm thinking from my brain. I'm thinking from my mindset. And there are times when I have to give her the benefit of the doubt. It's not that she made a wrong decision. She just made a decision that I wouldn't have chosen. So I have to be willing to take a step back and relinquish that control. And at times I know that's really, really challenging for men, because when we know a way works, we'll pound that way down. We'll beat it in. We'll beat it in. If we know it works, we're going to do it. We're going to keep doing it. And at times, if somebody comes in, especially when it's our girlfriend, fiance, wife, and they try to change that dynamic, we're ready to quarrel, so to say, right?
The chest comes out.
Exactly.
That chest comes out, right?
We push that chest out. We're ready to fight. But
Right, right.
kind of piggybacking on what he said, I have to be willing to relinquish that control. And that's where that compassion comes in. And I'm like, well, you know what? She has a different way of viewing this situation. So let's try her way. And if it doesn't come out right, it's not my chance to gloat and say, see, I told you. It's more or less an opportunity for us both to grow together.
Yeah.
That's good, Sean.
Right.
That's good. Anyone else want to piggyback on that?
I think from what both gentlemen said, one of the things I had to learn with my wife was to stop trying to fix everything. And it was more so of, you know, trying to have that conversation and be a listener, but my nature is to fix things, to be a problem solver. I felt like that was my role in the relationship. And I had to learn through a lot of heated discussions that it wasn't that she always was expecting or looking for me to fix it, but more so to listen to the challenges and the problems that she was going through.
Right.
So my nature was, as soon as I heard the problem or the issue, is I got a game plan on how to fix that. I'm off to the races. And I may not stuck around long enough to finish the conversation, but all she wanted was for me to listen to the problem, not necessarily to fix it. So I had to scale back on that because that was just part of my nature to want to fix everything.
That's good too, Kevin. Yeah, and I do hear definitely experiencing not only with men that I've dated, but who I was married to, and my father and uncles and cousins. I do hear you guys want to get to the point, and even with the phrase comes up, it's not that hard.
Yeah,
that's a popular phrase, you guys. It's not that hard. You want to solve the problem. You want to hear all the blah blah blah. You just want to get to the end result. So, and so, Greg, how do you kind of put the brakes on? You know, even with body language now, we can say, okay, I want to be here and I want to listen. I want to nurture. You know, I want to give you. But that body language also talks too.
I don't know. It's been 20 years or 25 years for me or more that I've been with my wife. And during that time, you get an understanding of body language. What is serious that she just wants you to listen? Sometimes I do want to answer. I nudge, just like Kevin says. I want to answer because I know exactly what to do, but it's not the point of answering. It's just the point of listening. And then allowing that listening to allow her to say, okay, do you have an answer? If she doesn't ask me if she has an answer, I won't answer. I just sit there and listen. And that has worked for me. But I am quick to say, why are we talking about this? I got the answer. Like, we don't even have to go this long. That's what I'm in my mind saying. But understanding her that she just want to be heard. And once being heard, I'm pretty sure she already have the answer to the problem. But it's just the point of having someone to listen to that's not going to judge or discourage or judge the source that it came from. So I think that is a big plus.
And have the time and not just say, okay, flip it and just say, you know, because I don't want to hear it. So being that you sit, you listen. Now, talk to the ladies, and I want to go back. We're going to backtrack and go back to Ann and to Kevin. Talk to the ladies for a moment, Greg, on, you know, how to shorten it or how to, okay, I want you to listen. Should we communicate that, look, this is the time, I know it's something we have to figure out. There's a logical result to this, but I just want you to listen to me. And we have this time.
But that's all that's needed. Once you give us the directions, we're good to go.
Yeah.
But if you didn't give me that direction, I've learned over body language over the years. Because a lot of times it may be some emotional involved. It may be a third party that she may be discussing, and there may not be need to have a judgment on it for me just to listen. But I think a female should really just say, hey, I want you to listen to something.
That's good. That's good.
And just say, stop right there.
Just stop right there.
Because then I won't have an answer. I'm listening now.
Off break, just look. I just want you to listen to me for a moment. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out. What do you?
And I think those instructions will ease a lot of what women think we should do. We're more instructional. If you instruct us, we'll follow that road. But if we don't know, we're trying to figure it out in our head. So I think that's pretty much what that is.
That's a good tip. And you were nodding on that one. You want to share
Yeah, it's a big one. That's certainly a big one that I personally have struggled with a lot, is trying to jump in with the answer instead of seeing that the answer is that they want to be heard and listened to. And so much of it comes from body language and context clues, because a lot of the time, yeah, it would be really, really easy if my partner said, yeah, I just need you to listen to me right now. I don't need you to provide the answer. I just want to be heard. Because, yeah, I think that comes down to just a lot of the ways that men are socialized, is that we are socialized to be very direct with our language, especially with each other. You say what you want, you get what you want, or, you know, you work a way into getting what you want. And for us, that's sort of our approach to things, very direct, very short to the point. And there, a lot of times I feel like, especially with men, is that we're not as great at communicating our emotional needs. And because of that, I think we're not very good at listening to those emotional needs that I think women do pick up on a lot faster than we do, at least generally speaking. So yeah, just on the one side, direct communication is a huge part of that, when you say, yeah, I just need you to listen to me. And on the other side, I think it's a little bit more of, you know, every now and then, I'm learning, in this process of learning, on this very bumpy road of learning, to say, hey, do you just need me to listen to you right now? Am I picking up on that right?
That's good.
Because yeah, all that feedback really, really matters.
That's so true. Communicate. Not only we typically, you find women say, I wish you would communicate more. You just have to understand each other. And Sean, I remember the book that you read, and you talked about the first episode 1 on season 1 of the podcast, Secrets to a Free Mind. Men Real Talk about healthy relationships. You talked about a book that you read about body language. You know, first understanding yours and understanding mine. I need to understand mine, understand yours, and communicate that to each other. You guys are talking, because even though through your actions you talk.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Would you say that?
Correct.
So Sean, what do you have to say about that?
So I want to piggyback of all the men. First and foremost, with Ian, the whole preface is the communication piece. So I don't read minds. I'm not God. I don't read minds, and don't ever ask me to, because I'm always getting it wrong. I'm not as clever as Greg. He has longevity in the game, and I respect the fact that he can pick up on his wife. That means that A, he studied her, number one.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he's asked questions throughout the years like, hey, is this a good time? Or so he's learned that. So I'm trying to get to that level. So in saying that, like Ian was making reference to, it all starts with the communication piece. If I court this woman, like we talked about in season 1, if I court a woman and I get an opportunity to have effective communication with her, I'll learn some of these nonverbal cues from her. Because if I vet a woman and I put her through her paces just as much as she needs to put me through mine, I'll learn some of these nonverbal cues, and I can find out when it's time for me to specifically listen. Or I'll just come out and ask her, like, hey, baby, do you want me to have a response ready, or do you want me to just listen? And I do my wife like that. And she's gotten to the point now when we have conversations and I can tell she's emotional, because let's remember, women are emotional creatures. She'll come to me and say, hey, I want to talk to you. I just need you to listen. And at that moment, I just kind of sit back and relax.
Yeah.
That's good. Single women and men. Kevin, what do you have to say about that? First, before, you get into the communication, getting into walking in each other's shoes, how do you vet or first identify, okay, this is a person I want to get to know, not even to do life with yet. We're not even there yet. So how do you start that communication process through getting to know?
I mean, I feel like the relationship is an investment. And it's on so many different levels of investing, emotional, time, financial, trust, all those different things are there. So just starting out, understanding that you have to be a willing participant to invest in someone else and hope that they reciprocate that. And what Sean said about studying is something I think that a lot of us overlook on both sides, both genders.
That's true.
That it's just not about the courting phase. It's just not about getting to that comfortable stage that, well, I know how you are on this. I know what she likes on that. I know what he likes here. That it's forever studying your partner and not getting complacent and be like, well, I kind of know what they're going to do on this. Because you're forever changing and growing throughout the whole relationship. And what worked in the beginning when it was the honeymoon phase ain't going to work 10 years down the road. I promise you.
Now let me ask you this. Since you said that, Kevin,
I beg to differ.
You know, people do say women try to, what is it? Women think they can change a man, and women think the woman's not going to change.
That's right.
So that myth, how true is that?
Ooh, Kevin, can I say something right quick?
Go ahead, Sean.
Kevin, you started something.
Real talk, guys.
You started something, Kevin.
Okay, so first and foremost, it's solely based on that woman. But from my experience, the only reason why I'm kind of prone to believe that is because in the beginning of a relationship, we put on a facade at times because we want to reel that person in. Now, we all have multiple phases of who we are, but we also go through seasons. So when I originally dated my wife, I was going through a really low point in my life. However, emotionally, she was there for me, and she helped me, and she saw my come up. So a lot of the ways that we relate to one another is on the basis of me thinking of her as like, okay, she saw me when I was down. She accepted me then. But all of a sudden, some of the things that she would allow me to do back then, she doesn't allow anymore. Greg, you can help me out, Greg, because I'm confused. Because I'm like, you thought it was cute when I was joking back then. Now when I'm joking, when you upset.
Cute don't last forever.
Yeah. Nah.
Cute don't last forever.
Well, I would say this, fellas. For me, I found success, and I'm just talking personally. My courting stage, I still do some of those same things now. So those are the things that I probably never stop doing. The things that you do to keep her, to get her, is the same things to do to keep her. You may not do it in the same facet, but it's similar. And for me, that's why I say studying, because I've seen it before. Like I may have seen this in 98. I may have seen this in 99. I was younger and immature then. Now I totally understand it and I get it. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying now. And if you use that concept, for me, it has worked. So I kind of do some simple stuff, man. Like we were in college when I met. So, it may be different from you guys. So that was our college life, our college courting. And back and forth, I still do some of those same things. We may go to Myrtle Beach and just have something to eat. We might not even stay in Myrtle Beach, but that's what we did when we were younger. So I may do something like that now. We may go to Orlando, get something to eat, and come back. That was our thing of courting. So that's why I said that, it definitely, you have to keep some of those things. You may not keep it all. You're right. We do outgrow some things, but some things never change to put a smile on a woman's face. It could be something as small as what you did 20 years ago and just a reminder how much you care about it. So that's why I say I beg to differ.
I love
it's worked for me.
That's it.
So I'm
That's
just saying it's not expensive either. It's
Look at you. Look, but let me ask you this, guys. The game has changed. I remember after my husband passed away and I went back into the dating game in early 2000, I was like, the game has changed.
Yeah.
So but I do like the fact you all said courting. That's an operative word there. It's a difference between dating, because you got the casual dating now. You got, we just want to hook up. That's
Right.
hook up, come through, So
Exactly.
there's a difference. And Ian, I want to go back to what you said about women being emotional. You kicked that off. And definitely we are. Some of us are more than others. I like the fact how you said that, kind of walking her shoes with that. However, let's help the women out here. So knowing that women can be emotional, what can they do? Because a lot of times we can, come in and be, I can be animated. Now I'm pretty cool, but I can be animated just through talking, and I can get into character, especially if I'm mocking you. And my thing, and I can stop and just laugh at myself because I know it's funny. So, but as far as I'm talking about nasty emotions and attitude, and of course you guys wouldn't settle down with women like that, but I'm sure you might have met some along the way. But out of the, off break, attitude. You come in, you ask a question, you share information. It's attitude, it's emotion. So how do you talk to them about kind of toning that down? It doesn't have to be that deep. So what advice do you have for women on that?
I think you got to recognize it in yourself first. And then you got to recognize how that affects your partner and how they communicate with you. Because you can be emotional and be at a 10, and you got a partner that'll go to 10 with you. And then it becomes a toxic conversation or a toxic relationship. But you might have somebody that's willing to go through that emotion with you. But the more that you're at a 10 or talking at them instead of talking to them, you start to see that they pull back from the conversation.
That's it.
I think you have to be able to at least recognize the effect that you have on someone when you're having those emotional conversations. And if you're not getting the response that you want from the partner, you have to realize how they prefer to be communicated to.
That's true.
And one of my things, and this is just me and my wife, we've talked about it, I'm not a loud person. I don't talk to someone loud.
That's right.
I don't typically curse unless I'm like at 100, and it's like, give Kevin some time, because that's not his nature.
Right.
But when you have somebody like me that don't respond to the loud emotion, and it's not that I don't care, you got to understand that that's how I communicate, or I prefer to be communicated to. So you have to kind of check where you are if you're looking for a response from me.
That's true.
But if you just want to get it out, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be interactive in that conversation, because it's not a conversation.
Yeah, right. As a woman, I don't even, just coming at, just about it could be anything, just talking.
And it might not even be about you. It's about the experience.
Yeah, it's about something else. Yeah.
Exactly.
But and we've had this conversation, and we have great outcomes from it. But it's like, I understand that it's not me that you're upset. It's not me that you're directing at, but I'm the one here experiencing it. So if you want a better reaction from me, you got to recognize that, to me, it feels like you're taking that out on me.
Right.
And you're not going to get the best response from me doing that.
Right. And another way, I think, as men, when we date women who have that nature, or who at times respond that way.
What was that, Kevin?
When I saw that trait early,
yeah, I'm out.
I didn't have to wait.
I know that's right, Kevin.
Right. So my whole thing behind it is, and this is coming from a man of faith, there's always a reason why somebody responds the way they do. And not making excuses for them, sometimes it's okay to respond with a sharp tongue. It's not right, but they have to process it. It has to come out. So, like my man Kevin was saying, I'm very confrontational. I'm very loud, but that doesn't help me when I've had partners like that, because, like you said, I've gotten to those toxic relationships, and then when I finally get her up there, I'm willing to throw my hands up, like, okay, now this is getting out of hand, because
I ain't know you were like, I ain't know you.
Like, oh, hold up. You walking out there, hold up. But one of the things that I'm always trying to do is remember that, and I call them soul ties, and I know that's what the old people call them. Any relationship that I've been in, I'm attaching myself to a person who might have these traits, or might have dealt with somebody with these traits, and I've learned these traits, unfortunately, or these bad habits, based on toxic relationships. So what we have to do in order to change that, because men and women both do it alike, but in order for us to change it, we have to be willing to be honest and true with ourselves, and be vulnerable to our partners. If my wife approaches me and says, hey man, your tongue is sharp, or if I approach her and say, hey, I'm responding to you and you're always coming at me negative, hopefully we both can be willing to talk about it and just lay our feelings on the table and find out what the issue is that's causing that immediate reaction.
There it is.
Believe it or not, it's not the person they're dealing with. It could have been something in the past.
That's it. I appreciate your transparency.